Hello, I'm Malcolm. Welcome to edition 2021 of the Enfield Talking Newspaper. With me on the reading team for Thursday the 8th of October 2015 are Roz, Katherin and John, with Jason on the controls. And the items we'll be reading are the copyright of our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent. This week's local stories include firefighters' reunion with a girl they saved, a digital move prompts fears of a museum cutbacks, a neighbourhood is shocked by a death, and a fizzy drink factory celebrates its 40th. But before we go to the papers, just a reminder that you have a listener's representative, Diane de Jersey, who'll be happy to help you with any problems or concerns you have about your talking newspaper. And you can call Diane on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578. And now here's Katherin with the first news item.
It was an emotional meeting for a group of firefighters who helped save the life of a 3-year-old girl. Poppy Rackind of Southgate was found blue, very cold and unresponsive in the bath at her home close to death. Her father, Laurie, found her in the bath, partially reviving her himself, but it was not going to be enough, and rushed to Southgate Fire Station on High Street, Southgate. Taking around 2 breaths a minute when the fire crew started treating her, her life hung in the balance. While waiting for the ambulance, they gave her oxygen, and she eventually started to come to. She was rushed to Great Ormond Street Hospital, where she was later diagnosed with epilepsy. Poppy's mother, Julia, said, "I don't even want to imagine what would have happened if they weren't there. They were fantastic in a crisis. They were professional, knowledgeable, and took over. They saved our daughter." Since the incident on August the 8th at around 7:15 p.m, Poppy and her parents were invited back to the fire station to meet the crew that helped save her life. Mrs. Rackind added, "It was very emotional to go down to the fire station again. I just wanted to hug them all. We are amazingly lucky to be living so near to the fire station and to come across people who kept their cool in a crisis when Laurie and I were not able to ourselves." In his 25 years at the service, firefighter Simon Sturt revealed it was one of the most rewarding things he has done, helping to revive the 3-year-old, and believed it was an emotional visit for all involved. He said, "I've been a firefighter for 25 years, and you can go through your whole career without having an incident like this. This was one of those jobs where you get a sense of professional self-worth. It was lovely to see Poppy and the family again. She is full of life." Watch manager Carl Smith praised firefighters' actions and the brigade's control staff for raising the alarm. He said, "The crew involved included firefighters on standby from other stations who had never worked together before, but they were fantastic. I have a young daughter of my own, and to go from not knowing what was going to happen to Poppy that day to then see her turn up to say thank you at the station door was remarkable."
Residents of a block of flats where a man died have spoken of their horror at the death. Police were called by London Ambulance Service at 9 p.m. on Tuesday last week after reports of a man collapsed inside his flat in Cherry Road off Hoe Lane, Enfield. Despite desperate attempts by paramedics to revive him, he was pronounced dead at the scene a short time later. The dead man has been named as Mustafa Lenlayin, aged 47, of Cherry Road, Enfield. No cause of death has been given. Sean Gomez, aged 48, of Addison Road, Brimsdown, has been charged with murder. He was remanded in custody when he appeared at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court on Friday and is due to appear for a plea and case management hearing at the Old Bailey on December the 22nd, with a provisional trial date set for March the 7th. Speaking to the Advertiser on Friday, Hava, a resident of the block where Mr. Lenlayin died, who only wished to give her first name, said, "I am petrified to stay in my own flat. This whole area has seen some awful things recently. Before Tuesday night there was a drive-by shooting on this street. No one died, but a bullet went straight through a window. The council needs to start some sort of neighbourhood watch scheme or a warden just to keep an eye on things." She added that since last week's incident, she had not allowed her 8-year-old daughter to stay in the flat. She explained, My daughter has been staying at my mum's this week because I don't want her walking through all the blood that is still on the stairs. But she will be coming home tonight, so if it isn't cleaned up, she will see it. I want to move from here so badly. I pay my rent, but this week I stayed at my mum's also because I am too scared to come back in here at the end of my night shift. Another resident, who lived on the same floor as Mr. Lanlayan, who did not want to be named, said he was furious that 3 days after the incident there was still blood on the floor and even on the walls of the stairwell. Why has no one, like the police or the council, cleaned this, he said. It's disgusting that my children have to walk through this on their way to school. An Enfield Council spokesman said, our caretaking team visited the block on Friday and addressed this as a matter of urgency. They had been unable to access the block earlier in the week due to police activity. We are very sorry for any distress that this delay has caused to residents and the family of the deceased.
Coca-Cola's Edmonton factory has celebrated its 40th anniversary. The fizzy drink company moved to the site in Noble Road in 1975 and will mark the celebration by pumping £300,000 into the factory over the next year. The celebrations were led by John Brooke, Chairman and CEO of Coca-Cola Enterprises, and Ron Lewis, Senior Vice President of Supply Chain at CCE. The anniversary coincides with the Education Centre at the Edmonton factory, welcoming the 500,000th student through its door following a visit from Compton School. Steve Thorpe, Operations Director at the Coca-Cola Enterprises Edmonton, said, Coca-Cola Enterprises prides itself on being a truly local, great British business, and Edmonton's anniversary provides the perfect opportunity to celebrate the heritage we have developed here in North London over the last 40 years. However, it's not just our history that we are celebrating today, it's our future too, and the investments we have announced for the next year will help us to ensure Edmonton remains a nationally renowned centre of manufacturing excellence. The factory currently employs 229 workers and hosts more than 200 school visitors during each year. Mr. Brooks said, we are dedicated to making positive contributions in all of the communities in every which way we operate across Europe. Edmonton is a strong example of the role of sites can play in their local areas, not just as a factory which fosters innovation, but one which seeks to nurture young people and provide them with new opportunities for the future.
Sphere Council plans for a radical overhaul of Enfield Archives and Museum will lead to job losses and cuts to services. The Council is running a consultation over the future of the collection, and campaigners say the museum, based at the Dugdale Centre in London Road, Enfield Town, could lose its accreditation status and become ineligible for Heritage Lottery Fund grants. According to council figures, the local studies centre attracted 2,761 visitors last year, as well as 1,528 telephone and email inquiries. Enfield Council is proposing to scan the archives and reduce access to the collection to appointment only to help us better manage public demand and create capacity to focus on the digitisation of local study resources. Plans to create an online archive will be an exciting and user-friendly online tool, says the local authority. It's proposed to move all the museum exhibition space from the ground floor to the first floor, which currently houses the permanent displays. The Enfield Society's chairman, Dave Cockle, has written to its 2,000 members about concerns. He said, though presented as a more efficient and cost-effective and increasing access to the heritage resources, these are really cuts in the services provided. Mr. Cockle said the proposal to scan items to make them available all the time was misleading. He said it would take many years and millions of pounds to scan all the centre's resources. He told Society members, the form asks you whether digitisation of the resources would be of benefit to you. But it seems that the only possible answer is, don't know, because nobody knows what few resources might be available or when. He said the moves were likely to lead to significant job cuts from the current 5. Former councillor Ingrid Cranfield contributed items to a World War I exhibition at the museum and has set up a petition about the proposals online. She said, once the archives are not accessible anymore, and once the museum is moved upstairs, there's no bringing it back. The cost of the current service is actually very low. It's nothing compared with the loss of amenities. Digitising would cost millions and would take forever. Pardon me. There's no substitute for physical contact with the items on the archives. The consultation deadline is scheduled for Sunday, October the 18th. And if you're interested in that online petition, I'll give you the online address now. It's got lots of dashes in it. So here it goes. It's www.change.org/P, that's the letter P, /Enfield dash, not a slash, Enfield dash, councillors dash, save dash, Enfield dash, museum dash, and dash, archives. You can see that Ingrid Cranfield was not a master of concision in putting together web addresses, but there you are. Okay.
Council chiefs have given a lukewarm reception to the announcement that local authorities can keep business rates they generate within their own boroughs rather than returning them to a central pot. In his speech at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester on Monday, Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne said that local authorities would be getting new devolved powers, enabling them to decide how to spend the revenue raised from business rates. They will also be given the power to lower rates to attract new businesses. However, Enfield Council's Business and Regeneration Chief, Alan Sitkin, said he was treating the news cautiously. The devil is in the detail, he said. Under this government, we have seen the amount of money the council can use on a discretionary basis fall from 191 million to 90 million. We've been burned by this government before. He added that while the council would be able to retain the money generated in Enfield, some parts of the capital could lose out, as there would no longer be any redistribution of business rate income generated by the City of London and Canary Wharf. Before we can celebrate, I need to see the detail of what caveats are attached, and we need to look more closely at what compensatory mechanism will be deployed to stop some boroughs with a high rate of non-occupied businesses from losing out, said Mr. Sitkin.
Diplomacy meant a visit to his former Enfield school for a globe-trotting United Nations envoy. Diplomat Richard Moon, who left Chase Community School in Churchbury Road in the 1970s, returned last week to talk with politics students about global issues and international relations. On a stopover on his way back from Africa to the UN headquarters in New York, he chaired a session with Year 13 students. His visit was part of a scheme run by education charity Future First, which harnesses the talents of former pupils of state-run schools and colleges to inspire and motivate current students. The charity's 100,000 registered alumni act as career and education role models, mentors, work experience providers, governors, fundraisers and donors, and they work in more than 400 state schools and colleges across Britain. I had a wonderful and slightly emotional experience going back to Chase, said Mr. Moon. We had a very intensive question and answer experience covering widely diverging issues of UK, US, UN and world politics. I loved every second. I would have been happy to conduct a week-long politics seminar to tell these lovely young people everything I have learned over the past 40 years, he added. The school's assistant head teacher, Mark Quinn, said the students were especially excited to hear Mr. Moon talk about the UN role in Africa. That work is directly relevant to their A-level course, he explained. They were interested too, he said, in his views on Syria and ISIS, particularly given that their homework had been to prepare a conference on that issue. The most important thing was that they got to meet someone who started out in life just like them and has achieved so much in his career, added Mr. Quinn.
Those who are planning to improve town centres have admitted more needs to be done by the council to help businesses in the borough. At the first meeting between Enfield Council and business owners since the council opted to terminate the funding of Enfield Business Retail Association, known as EBRA, owners raised eyebrows at the authorities' latest plans. The council-funded group had been running for 15 years but will be replaced by a team of 5, run by the council, as well as town centre teams made up by business owners themselves. Traders at the meeting at the Dugdale Centre, London Road, raised concerns at the loss of EBRA and the lack of contact between firms and the council. Councillor Alan Sitkin, chair of the meeting, said the group was neither financially viable nor optimal, but wished them luck in the funding finding. Council Officer for Business Neil Isaacs gave a presentation on a new portal which will give a new, clearer layout online to business owners. Mr. Isaacs said the process would be a leap of faith and would be bringing the council into the 21st century. Douglas Lee of DAL Media condemned the current system, saying the council has not done enough for firms. He said the system had been so poor up until now, and we have to see a better communication between the council and our businesses. The council seems to be deaf to what we are saying. Whether it was EBRA or any other team you set up, our concerns, such as parking, have not been dealt with. You need to open your ears. Mr. Isaacs admitted the council has not been good enough in working with businesses and added, we have to do better, but there must be trust between business and the council for Enfield to be reinvigorated. Vic Smith of Vic Smith Beds called on the council to look at EBRA's car parking scheme, which sees shoppers claim a part of possible or full refund on parking, depending on how much they spent at small businesses taking part. Many traders were left sceptical about the lack of face-to-face contact with someone to air their grievances. The council hopes to launch its new website for businesses and new team in the next 5 months, and will have a second meeting with businesses on how to improve footfall and the makeup of town centre teams.
Another business owner has spoken out against the council's latest plans to manage the borough's town centres. Erdal Mehmet, who owns jewellers G. Mantella in Church Street, Enfield, said that it was this very loss which businesses would feel most keenly. I'm disappointed for the people who were employed by EBRA because they lost their jobs, and also because this new system means we lose the personal touch, he said. With EBRA, there was always someone in between you and the council, which we liked. Mr. Mehmet said the potential conflict of interest with the council representing its own interests while trying to accommodate the business community worried him. The biggest concern for me at the moment are the proposals for Cycle Enfield, which will see cars banned from passing along Church Street, he said. Is the council really going to listen to our concerns if it is simultaneously trying to push the plans through?
A volunteer has raised £4,500 after completing 3 nighttime marathons for charity. Jeff Hecker, a trustee at Enfield Citizens Advice Bureau, has for the past 3 years taken on the Shine Night Walk for Cancer Research UK. After months of preparation, the 67-year-old of Melbourne Way in Bush Hill Park set off for his third 26.2-mile walk on the final weekend of September, accompanied by son Paul. The walk took them around some iconic sites in London, including the Houses of Parliament and St Paul's Cathedral. Mr. Hecker, who also volunteers at Beanstalk Charity to help primary school children to read, said, I was so pleased to complete the hat-trick, but it's the generous donations that friends and family have made to such a worthy cause that are what really matter and should be celebrated. Mr. Hecker has raised some £1,500 for Cancer Research UK in each of the past 2 years, and this year's total is close to that figure again. He added, volunteering for organisations providing valuable services to the people of Enfield has certainly enhanced my retirement. You can donate to Cancer Research UK at www.justgiving.com/Jeff Hecker 2015, and that's Jeff Hecker is JEFFHECKER, Jeff Hecker 2015.
3 officers have been honoured for saving the lives of 2 men. PCs Scott Reed, Bernie Egan and Robin Palmer received Royal Humane Society awards from Commissioner Sir Bernard Hogan Howe following their heroics. Officers Palmer and Egan helped to resuscitate a man who collapsed and suffered a cardiac arrest during morning prayer at the community mosque in High Street, Ponders End. The pair gave chest compressions for 15 minutes until the London Ambulance Service arrived at the mosque on January the 24th, 2014. Chief Superintendent Jane Johnson, the Borough Commander for Enfield, said there is no doubt that the immediate action taken by PCs Palmer and Egan provided essential life-saving treatment. They demonstrated total professionalism in sensitive circumstances. PC Reed saw a car hit a traffic island on Hertford Road after the driver had suffered a cardiac arrest. Mr. Reed, along with PC Truong, leapt to the man's aid, turning off the engine, and found no pulse on the man. The pair did chest compressions whilst waiting for the ambulance service before he eventually started to breathe again. As the man was taken to the London Chest Hospital, he stopped breathing several times. PC Truong, who was in the ambulance, resumed CPR at the request of the paramedics until they arrived at hospital. Superintendent Johnson added, "This was a very difficult incident to manage, with the officers rendering first aid to this man whilst also dealing with hazards involved in managing a road traffic accident on a relatively busy road during the rush hour. The officers' quick thinking and actions saved a life, and it's thanks to them that he's alive today."
A school for youngsters with special education needs has opened a pop-up shop in the heart of Enfield. The shop was launched in Enfield Town Marketplace last week by Westley School, a specialist sports college for children aged 4 to 19 in Hazelbury Road, Edmonton, with the help of actress Anita Dobson. Students from the school will be upcycling some of the goods that are donated to the shop. And head teacher Sue Tripp said, "I am delighted we are able to open this new shop, which will have the same aims and objectives as the first, which was opened in Edmonton Green Shopping Centre in 2012, but will facilitate a much-needed expansion in work experience places that provide wonderful opportunities for our young people." The 2012 venture was designed as a way for students at Westley to gain work experience opportunities as well as raising money for the school. Julian Halford, Community and Enterprise Manager for the school, explained, "Westley in the Green has had such an impact on our pupils, other schools in the area and the local community. I remember one of our very first pupils who was at the time very introverted. By his second week of work experience in the shop, he had come out of his shell and was trying his best to communicate. He still works with us at the shop and we are so pleased with his continuous progress and success." The latest venture was officially opened on Wednesday by the former EastEnders star, who became a patron of the school when she and her husband, Queen guitarist Brian May, presented 2 minibuses to Westley on behalf of the Variety Club of Great Britain. Aoife Orhan, Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for Education and Children's Services, said, "Westley School is a shining example of success, demonstrating that young people can succeed whatever their ability. It is always at the forefront of school activities, whether it's sports, arts or academic studies, and this latest enterprise is a great addition to the bustling Enfield town. We wish them every success and encourage local shoppers to support it."
Confronting stigmas and breaking down barriers has been the centre point for a couple who have launched the country's first mobile wig fitting business. After 15 years of working in the hairdressing industry with stars at fashion weeks across the country, Dimitri Jones of Ladysmith Road spotted a gap in the market. Mr. Jones said, "I had a lot of clients who said they wanted to be in their own environment when trying on wigs and not be in front of other people. I just saw an opportunity to do something I really care about and make a difference." In June, Mr. Jones and his fiancée Mark Deacon decided to set up Wigs on Wheels, a first for the UK. He said, "The biggest thing for me is that I lost my Auntie Rena to breast cancer and she had a really poor quality lit wig. Women feel like they have no identity and being able to give someone back a piece of their life is the most rewarding thing." The start-up will face challenges in its first few years, but Mr. Jones is relishing the opportunity. He told the Enfield Independent, "I want to have more vans on the road visiting people at their homes. At the moment it's just me and Mark, but we found a niche in the market." Mr. Jones revealed how people would spend thousands of pounds buying wigs over the internet, but then left disappointed when it arrived. He added, the amount people would spend on wigs is amazing, but we want to be able to offer something for everyone, and for those who don't feel like they can go into a salon to have a wig fitted. To cap off a whirlwind first few months, Wigs on Wheels has been shortlisted for Hair Extension Specialists of the Year for 2015, leaving the couple overjoyed.
A man was taken to hospital after a car careered into a pub in 4th Street, Edmonton on Friday. Police and the London Ambulance Service were called to the Phoenix on the corner of 4th Street and Claremont Street at about 2:30 p.m. One man was taken to the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead with non-life-threatening injuries. Police closed the road for part of the afternoon, causing long tailbacks along 4th Street.
Out your platform boots, dust off your flares, grab the glitter and relive the glam rock era which produced David Bowie and the contemporaries such as Slade, T-Rex, The Sweet and Mud, among others. The 1970s gave us unforgettable fashion and memorable music, and Phil Murray and his band Diamond Dogs will revive those memories when they play the Black Barn on Saturday evening in the picturesque surroundings of Forty Hall Estate in Forty Hill, Enfield. Every second Saturday in the month, the live music venue in a converted barn stages a concert showcasing established and up-and-coming bands. Featuring early Bowie songs from his Ziggy Stardust days, as well as other glam rock classics, the latest offering is a pure slice of nostalgia. For Phil, now aged 67, tottering about on stage in knee-length boots and glam rock gear may not be the most dignified of looks, but capturing the music and the fashion of the time is what it's all about. As a frontman with new wave 1970s band U-Boat, which he formed with Woody Woodmansey, Bowie's drummer in the Spiders from Mars, he had success supporting The Clash and The Damned. There seems to be a renewed interest in glam rock, he says. For all the flamboyant costumes and makeup, the songs are some of the best ever written, and the show captures the contribution of Bowie and fellow glam rock acts of the period, he adds. Tickets cost £5, and there is a support act. Doors open at 7 p.m, and the music starts at 8 p.m.
And so, we've come to the end of side 1. Please stop your machine, take out your cassette, turn it over, and start side 2.